The neutral space station was called Haven. It had been built centuries ago by a peaceful species called the Mendari, who specialized in mediating disputes between other civilizations. The station floated in unclaimed space exactly halfway between Vryn and human territory. When Thessera arrived with her small diplomatic escort, she saw that Earth had already sent their representatives. The human delegation consisted of 3 people. Admiral Tae Sung was an older man with gray hair and hard eyes. He had lost 2 sons in the war, according to the intelligence reports Thessera had read. Ambassador Ha Jin was younger, a woman with a professional manner and careful expressions. The 3rd person was simply listed as an observer, a quiet man named Quan who said almost nothing but watched everything. Dae-ho stood beside Thessera as they entered the conference room. The human delegation's eyes widened when they saw him. Admiral Tae Sung stood up immediately. "Captain Dae-ho, we thought you were dead. Your ship was destroyed 3 weeks ago." "I was captured, sir," Dae-ho said formally. "Queen Thessera has treated me well and has now released me as part of the peace process." "Peace process?" Admiral Tae Sung's voice was skeptical. "Is that what we're calling this? Because from where I stand it looks more like a Vryn trick." Thessera felt her composure waver but forced herself to remain calm. She had practiced this moment in her mind dozens of times. "Admiral, I understand your suspicion. The Vryn Empire has given you no reason to trust us, but I am here in good faith, hoping we can find a way to end this conflict before more lives are lost on both sides." "More lives?" The Admiral's face reddened. "You started this war. You destroyed our colonies and killed our people. And now that we're fighting back effectively, suddenly you want peace? Forgive me if I don't believe your good faith." Ambassador Ha Jin placed a gentle hand on the Admiral's arm. "Let's hear what the Queen has to say. We came here to listen, after all." She turned to Thessera. "Your Majesty, Earth has received your proposal. We are willing to discuss terms, but we need to understand your intentions." "Why seek peace now?" Thessera had prepared a diplomatic answer, full of carefully chosen words about mutual benefit and strategic realities. But when she opened her mouth, what came out was the truth. "Because I was wrong," she said simply. The room fell silent. "I believed the Vryn Empire had the right to expand wherever we chose. I believed other species should accept our superiority and follow our guidance. I believed force and logic were sufficient to maintain order. Captain Dae-ho has shown me that all of these beliefs were false." Admiral Tae Sung looked at Dae-ho with surprise. "What did you tell her, Captain?" "Just the truth, sir," Dae-ho replied. "I told her about us, about why we fight, about what we're fighting for. And I guess it made an impression. The captain helped me understand that humans will never surrender." Thessera continued. "Not because you are illogical, but because you are fighting for things I never properly valued. Family, freedom, and the right to make your own choices. The Vryn Empire can destroy your ships and occupy your colonies. But we cannot defeat these ideas. And if we continue this war, we will simply create generations of enemies who will never forget what we did." "So you want peace because you're losing?" Admiral Tae Sung said bluntly. Thessera met his gaze. "I want peace because continuing the war serves no one. Yes, we are learning that humans are more difficult to defeat than we anticipated. But more than that, I have learned that perhaps we should not be trying to defeat you at all. Perhaps there is value in diversity and independence that the Vryn Empire has been too blind to see." Ambassador Ha Jin leaned forward. "That's an interesting statement, Your Majesty. But words are easy. What concrete actions are you willing to take to demonstrate your sincerity?" "I have already released all human prisoners, including Captain Dae-ho," Thessera said. "I am prepared to withdraw Vryn forces from all disputed territories and return them to human control. I will also provide reparations for the colonies we destroyed, in the form of resources, technology, or whatever Earth deems appropriate." The human delegation exchanged glances. Ambassador Ha Jin spoke carefully. "Those are significant concessions. What do you want in return?" "A formal peace treaty and the establishment of diplomatic relations," Thessera said. "I want to ensure that humans and Vryn can coexist peacefully. I also want to establish trade agreements and cultural exchanges. My people have much to learn from yours, and perhaps you can learn from us as well." Admiral Tae Sung leaned back in his chair, his expression still skeptical. "And what happens when the next Vryn leader decides they don't like this treaty? What stops your empire from breaking the agreement in 10 years or 100 years?" It was a fair question, and Thessera did not have a perfect answer. "I cannot control what future queens will do, But I can tell you that this war has changed the Vryn Empire. Many of my people are tired of fighting. They see the cost in resources and lives, and they question whether expansion is worth that price. I am not the only Vryn who has doubts about our traditional path. If we establish peace now, it will become the new normal. Future generations will grow up with humans as neighbors rather than enemies. That's assuming we accept your proposal, Ambassador Hajin said. You need to understand, Your Majesty, that many humans want justice, not just peace. There are people on Earth demanding war crimes trials. They want Vryn commanders held accountable for the atrocities committed during this war. Thessera felt a flash of defensive anger but suppressed it. What atrocities do you refer to? The Vryn have followed all rules of warfare. We minimized civilian casualties and offered relocation assistance. 17 people died at New Sol, Deho said quietly. They died because they refused to leave their homes. From the Vryn perspective, that was their choice. From the human perspective, you murdered them for standing their ground. The words hit Thessera hard. She had authorized that operation. She had seen the casualty reports and considered them acceptable. But looking at it through Deho's eyes, through human eyes, she saw it differently. Those were not statistics. They were 17 individual people with names and families and lives that had been erased because they were inconvenient. I cannot change what has been done, Thessera said slowly. I can only try to prevent future harm. If Earth demands that I face trial for my actions, I will accept that judgment. But I ask that you allow me to establish peace first. Let me use whatever time I have left to build something better than war. Admiral Taesung stared at her for a long moment. Then he did something unexpected. He stood up and walked around the table to stand directly in front of her. Thessera tensed, unsure what he intended. My sons died fighting your fleet, the Admiral said, his voice rough with emotion. Yunwoo was 23. Jae-sung was 20. They were good boys, smart, brave, and they believed they were protecting humanity. When I got the news they were dead, I wanted to kill every Vryn in the galaxy. I volunteered for this delegation, hoping I could look a Vryn in the eye and tell them exactly what I thought of them. Thessera did not know what to say. She simply waited. But now I'm here and you're telling me you were wrong, the Admiral continued. You're offering to give back everything you took. You're willing to face trial for your actions. And I realize that killing you won't bring my sons back. Continuing this war won't bring them back. Nothing will bring them back. But maybe, just maybe, we can make sure no more parents lose their children. Maybe we can make sure my sons died for something that mattered. Tears were forming in the Admiral's eyes, and Thessera realized with shock that she felt moisture in her own eyes as well. Vryn could cry, though it was considered a sign of severe emotional distress. She had not cried since she was a young larva. I am deeply sorry for your loss, Thessera said, and she meant it with every fiber of her being. I cannot give you back your sons, but I can promise that I will spend whatever time I have left trying to make sure other parents do not suffer, as you have suffered. The Admiral nodded slowly and returned to his seat. Ambassador Hajin looked at him, then at Thessera. I think we have a basis for negotiation, but this will take time. Earth's government will need to approve any treaty, and there will be strong opposition. Many humans will see this as surrender rather than victory. It is neither surrender nor victory, Deho said. It's just common sense. We stop trying to kill each other and start trying to coexist. That's not weakness. That's maturity. The negotiations continued for 3 days. The terms were hammered out slowly, with both sides making compromises. The Vryn would withdraw from all human colonies and provide substantial reparations. Humans would agree not to expand into Vryn-claimed space without negotiation. Both sides would exchange ambassadors and establish trade agreements. And most importantly, there would be a truth and reconciliation process where both species could acknowledge the harms they had caused and work toward genuine healing. On the final day, as the treaty was being prepared for signing, Thessera found herself alone with Deho one last time. They stood together looking out at the stars through the station's observation window. Thank you, Thessera said quietly. Without you, this would never have happened. Don't thank me yet, Deho replied. The hard part is just beginning. Signing a treaty is easy. The announcement of Thessera's decision created chaos throughout the Vryn command structure. Within hours of her stating her intention to pursue peace negotiations, half of her military council demanded an emergency meeting. Keswick led the opposition, his mandibles clicking with barely controlled fury. This is unprecedented, Keswick declared in the council chamber. 12 senior Vryn officials sat around the circular table, and all of them looked disturbed. In 10,000 years of Rin expansion, we have never negotiated with a species that attacked us first. We do not reward aggression with diplomacy. The humans attacked us because we took their colonies, the Sara said calmly, though she felt anything but calm inside. Perhaps if we had negotiated before taking their territory, this war would never have begun. They are primitives, another council member said. Her name was Tessara, and she commanded the Fourth Fleet. They barely understand quantum physics. They still use chemical propulsion for some of their vessels. Why should we negotiate with beings so far beneath us? Because they are defeating us, Tessara said bluntly. The room fell silent. Oh, we have superior technology and larger fleets. But we are not winning this war. Every human colony we take costs us more ships and soldiers. Every battle we win creates 10 more human volunteers seeking revenge. Meanwhile, our own people grow weary of a conflict that produces no benefit to the Empire. We are fighting a war we cannot win, and pride is the only thing stopping us from admitting it. Keswick stood up, his 4 arms spread wide in a gesture of disbelief. The human prisoner has poisoned your mind, my queen. He has used psychological manipulation to make you doubt yourself. This is exactly why we should have executed him immediately. Captain Deho has not manipulated me, Tessara replied. He has simply told me the truth, something none of you were willing to do. The truth is that humans are dangerous, Tessara said. Intelligence reports suggest they are developing new weapons. Some of their scientists are working on biological agents that could target Vrin specifically. They are also accelerating their ship production. If we negotiate now, we do so from a position that will only grow weaker. Then we strike first, Keswick urged. Launch a massive offensive against Earth itself. Destroy their shipyards, their military academies, their command centers. Cut off the head of the snake before it grows large enough to threaten us. The Sara considered this proposal. It was logical from a purely military standpoint. Earth was the heart of human resistance. Destroy it and the scattered colonies would be easier to subjugate. But she thought about what Deho had told her about human history, about how humans fought harder when cornered, about how they never forgot and never forgave. If we attack Earth, we guarantee this war continues for generations. Tessara said, the colonies will not surrender. They will fight with even greater fury. We will create an enemy that will pursue us across the galaxy, willing to sacrifice everything for revenge. Is that the future you want for the Vrin Empire? Better that than showing weakness, Keswick insisted. The moment we negotiate with the humans, every other species in the galaxy will see us as soft. Our empire was built on strength and certainty. If we abandon that now, we abandon everything that makes us Vrin. Perhaps we should abandon some of those things, Tessara said quietly. Perhaps being Vrin should mean something more than just being strong. Perhaps it should mean being wise enough to recognize when we are wrong. The council erupted in argument. Half the members supported continued military action, while others were beginning to see merit in negotiation. The meeting lasted for 6 hours, and by the end, no consensus had been reached. Tessara dismissed them all and returned to her private chambers, exhausted in ways she had never experienced before. She found Deho waiting for her in a secured meeting room. She had given him limited freedom to move around the ship, though he was always accompanied by guards. He looked tired too, and she realized that the stress of recent events was affecting him as well. Your council didn't take it well. I'm guessing, Deho said. They believe I am making a catastrophic mistake, Tessara admitted, sitting down across from him, and perhaps they are correct. I am gambling the future of my empire on the belief that humans will negotiate in good faith. Honestly, I'm not sure we will, Deho said, and his honesty surprised her. There are a lot of people on Earth who want nothing less than complete Vrin withdrawal from all disputed territories. Some of them want reparations too, war crimes trials, public apologies, and there are some who won't be satisfied with anything less than revenge. Then why should I even try? Tessara asked, feeling her resolve waver. Because not everyone thinks that way, Deho said. There are also humans who are tired of fighting. Parents who want their kids to grow up without war. Scientists who want to learn from your technology. Diplomats who believe peace is possible. If you reach out, you'll find people willing to listen. But you need to make the first move. You're the one with the power here. Use it to build something instead of destroying things. What if I offer peace and your people reject it? My council will see it as proof that I was wrong. They may remove me from power. They might, Deho agreed. Leadership is risky. You could lose everything, but you could also save millions of lives and end a war that's destroying both our species. Isn't that worth the risk? Thesara thought about her perfect city with its perfect streets and perfect citizens. She thought about the Vryn Empire, 10,000 years of careful expansion and controlled growth. Everything calculated, everything optimized, everything safe. And suddenly it all seemed hollow compared to what Deho was offering her. The chance to actually make a choice that mattered. To risk everything for something she believed in, rather than just following the predetermined path. I need you to make a promise to me, Thesara said. If I arrange these peace negotiations, you must stand beside me and speak to your leaders. They will trust you more than they trust me. You are a hero who survived against impossible odds. Your voice will carry weight. I'm not a hero, Deho said. I'm just a guy who got lucky. My crew died, I lived. That doesn't make me special. It makes you perfect for this task. You understand both sides. You have seen my empire from the inside. You know that not all Vryn are monsters. Just as I have learned that not all humans are violent primitives. Help me bridge this gap. Deho was quiet for a long time. Finally, he nodded. Okay, I'll help you. But I need something in return. Release all the human prisoners you're holding. Every single one. Send them back to Earth as a gesture of good faith. That will be seen as a sign of weakness, Thesara warned. Good. You need to show weakness. You need to show that you're willing to give up something important. Otherwise, Earth will think this is a trap or a delaying tactic. You want humans to believe you're serious about peace? Prove it by doing something that costs you. Thesara stood and walked to the window that looked out into space. She could see the distant stars, each one potentially home to civilizations watching this conflict. She had spent her entire life maintaining the image of Vryn strength and superiority, and now a human prisoner was asking her to deliberately appear weak. It was the hardest decision she had ever made, but she realized it was also the right one. Very well, she said. I will release all prisoners, and I will contact Earth directly and offer to meet at a neutral location. But I have one condition of my own. When we meet with Earth's leaders, you must tell them the truth about me. Not that I am weak, but that I am trying to change. Tell them that this Vryn at least has learned something from this war. I can do that, Deho said. Then we have an agreement, Thesara said. She extended one of her hands toward him, having learned that humans sealed agreements with physical contact. Deho stood and shook her hand, his small fingers barely wrapping around her larger appendage. As they stood there, Thesara realized she was afraid. Genuinely, truly afraid in a way she had never been before. Not afraid of death or defeat, but afraid of failure. Afraid that she would try to make peace and it would not work. Afraid that she was throwing away her empire for nothing, but she was also excited. For the first time in her life, she was doing something that was not predetermined. She was making a choice that mattered, taking a risk that could change everything. And if this was what humans felt all the time, this mixture of fear and hope and uncertainty, then perhaps she understood a little better why they fought so hard. They were not fighting against death. They were fighting for the chance to keep feeling these powerful, complicated emotions. They were fighting for the right to keep making their own mistakes and their own victories. And now Thesara was going to join them in that fight. 5 days passed, and Thesara found herself visiting the human prisoner every morning. Her advisors were becoming increasingly concerned. Keswick had submitted 3 formal requests for her to execute the prisoner and focus on the war effort. She had ignored all 3. The truth was that Thesara looked forward to these conversations. Deho was unlike anyone she had ever met. He was disrespectful, stubborn, and completely unimpressed by her status. But he was also honest, thoughtful, and surprisingly knowledgeable about topics beyond military matters. They had discussed human history, art, philosophy, and culture. She had learned more about humanity in 5 days than she had in 3 years of war. Today, she brought something with her to the interrogation room. It was a small device that could project holographic images. When Deho was brought in, he noticed it immediately. "What's that?" he asked, sitting down in his usual chair. "I want to show you something," Thesara said. She activated the device, and a holographic image of a Vryn city appeared in the air between them. It was beautiful in its precision. Every building was perfectly placed, every street formed exact geometric patterns, and every park was maintained to ideal specifications. This is Rithia Prime, the capital world of our empire. 12 billion Vryn live there in perfect harmony. There is no crime, no poverty, and no conflict. Every citizen has a role, and every role serves the greater good. This is what civilization looks like when logic and order prevail. Deho studied the image carefully. He was quiet for a long moment, and Thesara wondered what he was thinking. Finally, he spoke. It's impressive. Really, it is. But I have a question. Are your people happy? Thesara felt confused by the question. Happy, that is not a relevant metric. Our people are productive, healthy, and fulfilled in their duties. What more could they need? I don't know, maybe joy? Excitement? The freedom to make mistakes and learn from them? Deho gestured at the hologram. This city looks perfect, but it also looks empty. Like a museum or a showroom. Where's the chaos? Where's the mess that comes from people actually living? Chaos is inefficient, Thesara replied. The Vryn evolved beyond such primitive needs. We find satisfaction in order and purpose, and do you, though? Deho asked. Or did you just breed it out of yourselves? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you traded happiness for efficiency, and I'm not sure that's a good trade. Thesara deactivated the hologram. She felt defensive, which was unusual for her. Human cities are chaotic and inefficient. Your people suffer from mental illness, addiction, and social inequality. You fight among yourselves constantly. How is that superior to what we have achieved? I didn't say it was superior, Deho said calmly. I said it was alive. Yeah, human cities are messy. Yeah, we've got problems. But we've also got music that makes people cry. Art that changes how you see the world, and stories that inspire us to be better. We've got people falling in love, having kids, and building dreams. We've got all the ugly stuff. But we've also got all the beautiful stuff. You can't have one without the other. Thesara considered his words carefully. The Vryn had art and music, but it was all carefully designed to promote social harmony and proper thinking. The idea of art that challenged or disturbed people was alien to her culture. Human emotions seem to cause more problems than they solve. Maybe, Deho agreed. But they also give us something to live for. You want to know why we fight so hard? It's not just about survival. It's about protecting all the messy, complicated, beautiful things that make life worth living. We fight for the right to make our own mistakes, to love who we choose, and to build whatever kind of life we want. Your empire offers order and stability, but it doesn't offer freedom. And humans need freedom like we need air. Freedom is an illusion, Thesara said, but her voice lacked conviction. Every being is constrained by physics, biology, and social reality. The Vryn simply acknowledge these constraints and optimize within them. That's just a fancy way of saying you gave up, Deho said. You decided the universe was too hard to fight, so you built these perfect little boxes for yourselves and called it civilization. But humans never stopped fighting. We keep pushing against every constraint we find, trying to break through to something better. Sometimes we fail. Sometimes we fail spectacularly, but at least we try. The conversation was interrupted when a guard entered the room. My queen, forgive the intrusion, but there is urgent news from the fleet. The humans have launched another major offensive. Thesara stood immediately. Where? Sector 9 near the outer colonies. 3 human battle groups are engaging our defensive fleet. They are fighting with unusual ferocity. Deho looked up with interest. Sector 9? That's near the mining colonies. There are families there, thousands of them. If you lose that sector, a lot of people are going to die. The humans started this attack, Thesara said coldly. Any deaths are their responsibility. Are they, though? Deho challenged. Those families are only in danger because your empire decided their planets belong to you. If you had left them alone, none of this would be happening. Every death in this war goes back to that first decision to take what wasn't yours. Thesara wanted to argue, but she did not have time. She left the interrogation room and hurried to the command center. The tactical display showed the battle in real time. 3 human fleets, outnumbered and outgunned, were throwing themselves at the Vryn defensive positions with reckless abandon. It made no strategic sense. They could not possibly win. Why are they attacking? Thesara demanded. This is suicide. Her tactical officer, a young Vryn named Wessex, studied the displays. They appear to be trying to buy time, my queen. Our scans show civilian evacuation ships leaving the colonies. The human military is sacrificing itself to protect the evacuees. Thesara watched as human ship after human ship was destroyed. They fought with desperate courage, using tactics that no Vryn commander would ever approve. They rammed damaged ships into Vryn cruisers. They set off their own reactors as suicide bombs. They kept fighting even when their ships were crippled and burning. And slowly, impossibly, they were succeeding. The evacuation ships were getting away. "This is madness," Keswick said from beside her. "They are throwing away lives for no strategic gain." But the Sarah understood now. It was not madness. It was exactly what Deho had been trying to explain. Those human pilots were not thinking about strategy or victory. They were thinking about the families on those evacuation ships. Maybe their own families, maybe strangers, but it did not matter. They were humans protecting other humans, and they would die to buy those ships even one more minute of escape time. "Recall our forces," the Sarah said suddenly. Every Vryn in the command center turned to stare at her. Keswick's mandibles clicked in distress. "My queen, we are winning. The human forces are nearly destroyed. We can pursue the evacuation ships and end this sector's resistance permanently." "I said recall our forces," Thessera repeated, her voice hard. "Let the evacuation ships go. We will not pursue them. But my queen, this discussion is over. Recall the fleet immediately." The order was given, though every officer looked confused. The Vryn ships began pulling back, and the surviving human vessels covered the evacuation ships until they jumped to hyperspace. Only then did the human military ships retreat, their mission accomplished. The Sarah returned to the interrogation room. Deho was still sitting there, though he now had a guard with him. She dismissed the guard and sat down across from the human. "Your people evacuated successfully," she said quietly. "I ordered my fleet not to pursue." Deho looked surprised for the first time since she had met him. "Why?" "Because I understand now," the Sarah said. "Those pilots knew they were going to die. They attacked anyway because they were protecting something they loved. And I realized that if I destroyed those evacuation ships, your species would never forgive us. More importantly, I would not forgive myself. So what happens now?" Deho asked. The Sarah was silent for a long time. Finally, she said something that she had never expected to say. "I do not know. For my entire life, I have followed the path set before me. I became queen because I was bred for it. I expanded the empire because that is what queens do. I never questioned whether it was right, only whether it was efficient. But you have made me question everything, and I find that I do not like the answers I am discovering." "Welcome to being human," Deho said with a slight smile. "We question everything all the time. It's exhausting, but it beats the alternative." "What is the alternative?" the Sarah asked. "Living in a perfect city where nothing ever changes and no one ever really feels anything," Deho replied. "Honestly, Your Majesty, I'd rather be a mess than a machine." The Sarah looked at him and realized something profound. This human, this prisoner who should have been executed days ago, had taught her more about leadership than all her advisors combined. He had shown her that strength was not just about force and control. It was also about knowing when to let go, when to admit you were wrong, and when to change course even when it cost you everything. "I am going to do something that will likely destroy my reign," the Sarah said. "I am going to contact Earth and offer peace negotiations." Deho's eyes widened. "Are you serious?" "Completely. Will you help me?" The Sarah did not sleep well that night. Her species only required 3 hours of rest per cycle, but even that small amount eluded her. She kept thinking about the human prisoner and his complete lack of fear. It bothered her in ways she could not fully explain. When she returned to the interrogation chamber the next morning, she made a decision that shocked her staff. She ordered all the guards to leave except for 2, and she had them stand outside the room rather than inside. Her chief advisor, an elderly Vryn named Keswick, clicked his mandibles in distress. "My queen, this is highly irregular," Keswick said. "The human could be dangerous." The Sarah looked at him with her large eyes. "He is injured and restrained. What danger could he possibly pose to me? I am 3 times his size and protected by armor plating. Leave us. I wish to speak with him privately." Keswick reluctantly obeyed, though his body language showed clear disapproval. When the door closed, the Sarah turned her attention to Deho. The human had been cleaned up and his wounds treated. He sat in a chair that was too large for him, making him look even smaller than before. But his eyes were still alert and unafraid. "Good morning, Captain," the Sarah said, settling into a chair across from him. She had chosen a smaller throne for this room, one that put her closer to his eye level. "I trust you were treated well?" "The medical robot fixed my leg and gave me something to eat," Deho replied. "The food tasted like cardboard mixed with plastic, but I guess beggars can't be choosers. So what's on the agenda today? More threats? Maybe some torture?" "I do not torture prisoners," the Sarah said stiffly. The Vryn do not engage in such barbaric practices. Right, you just blow up their ships and evacuate their homes, Deho said. Much more civilized. Thessara felt a flash of irritation but pushed it down. She had not come here to argue. I want to understand your species better. You said yesterday that humans have been fighting their whole existence. Explain this to me. Deho looked surprised by the question. He studied her face for a moment as if trying to determine whether this was some kind of trick. Finally, he shrugged. What do you want to know? Why are humans so aggressive? Every other species in the galaxy understands basic logic. When faced with superior force, they negotiate or surrender, but humans fight until they are destroyed. This makes no strategic sense. The human leaned back in his chair and smiled, but it was a sad smile. You want to know why we fight? I'll tell you a story. A few thousand years ago, my ancestors lived on a peninsula on Earth. It's a small piece of land surrounded by water on 3 sides. For thousands of years, bigger and stronger nations tried to conquer it. China, Japan, Mongolia. All the big powers wanted that little peninsula because it was in a strategic location. And you know what? My ancestors never gave up. They fought every single invasion. Sometimes they lost, sometimes they won. But they never stopped being Korean. That's just one small group of humans from one small place. Every human culture has stories like that. Stories of fighting against impossible odds and surviving anyway. Thessara listened carefully. But you did not always win these fights. Many of your cultures were conquered or destroyed. Sure, lots of cultures died out, Deho agreed. But the species survived. That's what matters. Humans learned a long time ago that giving up means dying, so we don't give up. It's literally built into our DNA at this point. We're survivors, Your Majesty. It's what we do best. Your planet must have been very dangerous to produce such a mindset, Thessara said thoughtfully. You have no idea, Deho laughed. Earth is a nightmare world compared to most planets. We've got predators that can kill us in seconds. We've got diseases that wipe out millions. We've got weather that can destroy entire cities. Earthquakes, volcanoes, hurricanes, tsunamis, you name it. And on top of all that, we had to deal with each other. Humans fighting humans for resources, territory, or just because we didn't like how someone else looked. We almost destroyed ourselves a dozen times before we even got to space. Thessara found this difficult to believe. If your world was so hostile, how did your species develop advanced technology? The Vryn homeworld is peaceful and resource-rich. We had thousands of years to develop science and philosophy without the distraction of constant warfare. That's exactly why you don't understand us, Deho said, leaning forward. You had it easy, so you think everyone should be like you, calm, logical, and organized. But humans didn't have that luxury. We had to innovate or die. We had to work together or starve. We had to build weapons and walls and ships because our world was always trying to kill us. Every advance in human technology came from someone trying to solve a survival problem. We didn't reach the stars because we were curious. We reached the stars because we needed more room and more resources, and Earth wasn't big enough anymore. Thessara processed this information carefully. It explained much about human behavior, but it also raised new questions. If humans are so focused on survival, why did you attack our convoy? You knew it was suicide. That is the opposite of survival instinct. Is it though? Deho asked. See, humans don't just think about individual survival. We think about group survival. My crew attacked your convoy because every supply ship we destroy makes it harder for you to attack our colonies. Maybe we died, but we saved lives somewhere else. That's worth it. That's always been worth it. This is illogical, Thessara said, though her voice lacked certainty. You sacrificed definite lives for possible lives. The mathematics do not support such action. Math doesn't matter when you're talking about families, Deho said quietly. I've got a wife and daughter living on New Terra. Every day I fought in this war was one more day they stayed safe. Even if I died knowing I did everything I could to protect them. You can't put that in an equation. Thessara fell silent. She thought about her own species and realized that the Vryn did not think this way. Vryn society was built on collective harmony and individual duty. Personal relationships existed, but they were secondary to the needs of the Empire. A Vryn soldier would never sacrifice themselves just to protect their family. They would calculate whether the sacrifice benefited the greater whole. Tell me about your family, Thessara said suddenly. She was not sure why she wanted to know, but the question came out before she could stop it. Deho's expression softened. My wife's name is Bora. She's a teacher. Teaches little kids how to read and write. She's got the patience of a saint, which is good because I drive her crazy most of the time. And my daughter Yuna, she's 8 years old, smart as a whip and twice as stubborn. Last time I saw her, she told me she wanted to be a pilot like her dad. I told her she should be a teacher like her mom, something safer. She said safety is boring. Despite herself, Thesara found the image amusing. She sounds very human. She's the best of us, Deho said, and there was such love in his voice that Thesara felt something shift inside her. When I'm out here fighting, I think about her. I think about all the kids like her on all the human colonies. They didn't ask for this war. They just want to grow up and live their lives. And your empire wants to take that away from them because some ancient treaty says this space belongs to you. The treaty is law, Thesara said, but her words felt hollow even to her own ears. Without law, there is only chaos. Maybe, Deho said. But without justice, law is just tyranny with paperwork. You can hide behind your treaties and your rules, but it doesn't change what you're doing. You're destroying lives because you have the power to do it, and humans will never accept that. We'll fight you until either you leave or we're all dead, and honestly, I don't think you have enough ships to kill us all. Thesara stood up abruptly. The conversation was becoming uncomfortable in ways she had not anticipated. She had come here to understand human psychology, but instead she was questioning her own beliefs. We will continue this discussion tomorrow, she said formally. Guard! As the guards came to take Deho back to his cell, he looked at her one more time. You asked why humans fight so hard. It's because we have something worth fighting for. I wonder if you can say the same thing about your empire. Long after he was gone, Thesara remained in the interrogation room, thinking about his question. She had spent her entire life serving the Vryn Empire. She had never questioned whether it was worth serving. The Empire simply was, like gravity or mathematics. But now, for the first time, she wondered what would happen if someone asked her what the Empire was actually for. She did not have a good answer. The massive doors of the throne chamber slid open with a soft hiss. Queen Thesara sat perfectly still on her elevated platform, her forearms resting in precise positions that demonstrated both power and control. Her large compound eyes watched as the guards dragged the human prisoner across the polished floor. This was the moment she had been waiting for during 3 long years of war. The human soldier did not look like much. He was smaller than she expected, covered in dirt and dried blood from the battle. His uniform was torn in several places and one of his legs seemed injured. The guards had put metal restraints on his wrists and ankles, but even with these bonds, Thesara noticed something strange. The human was not shaking. He was not begging for mercy. He was simply looking around the chamber with what appeared to be curiosity. Thesara had studied humans extensively since the war began. She had watched thousands of hours of intercepted video transmissions from Earth. She had read their history files and analyzed their battle tactics, but she had never been in the same room as one before. The Vryn Empire had captured exactly 0 human prisoners during the entire conflict, because humans always chose to die rather than surrender. This one had been knocked unconscious during an explosion, which was the only reason he now stood before her. She gestured with one of her upper arms, and the guard stepped back. The throne chamber was enormous, designed to make visitors feel small and insignificant. The walls curved upward into darkness, and soft blue lights glowed from beneath the floor. Thesara herself was nearly twice the height of the human, her chitinous body reflecting the blue light in an impressive display. Every aspect of this room had been carefully planned to inspire fear and respect. The human looked directly at her and smiled slightly. It was not a friendly smile, but it was not afraid either. Thesara felt something she rarely experienced. Confusion. Do you understand my words? She asked in perfect human language. Her translator had been programmed with thousands of Earth languages, and she had chosen the most common one. Yeah, I understand you just fine, the human replied. His voice was rough, probably from smoke inhalation during the battle. You speak pretty good English for a giant bug. Several of Thesara's advisors made shocked clicking sounds with their mandibles. No prisoner had ever spoken to the queen with such disrespect. The head guard moved forward, ready to punish the human. But Thesara raised one hand to stop him. I am Queen Thesara, supreme ruler of the Vryn Empire, commander of 10,000 worlds, and guardian of the Central Spiral, she said formally. You are Captain Deho of Earth's Colonial Defense Force. Your ship was destroyed while attempting to raid our supply convoy. 43 of your crew members died in the explosion. You alone survived. The human's expression changed slightly when she mentioned his crew. His jaw tightened and his eyes became harder. But still she saw no fear. Only anger and sadness. They were good people. Deho said quietly. Better than me, probably. It should have been someone else who survived. Why did your crew attack our convoy? Thesara asked. Your forces were outnumbered 5-1. Your ship had no chance of victory. Why did your captain give such an illogical order? Deho laughed, which surprised Thesara again. It was not a happy laugh, but it was genuine. You really don't understand humans at all, do you? We attacked because you keep taking our colonies. We attacked because our families are out here, and you think you can just roll over us because you have bigger ships. We attacked because that's what humans do when someone tries to bully us. Bully you? Thesara repeated the word carefully. The Vryn Empire is bringing order to this region of space. Your species has only been traveling between stars for 200 years. You are children playing with technology you barely understand. We have maintained peace in this galaxy for 10,000 years. Right, peace, Deho said. Is that what you call it when you showed up at New Sol and told everyone they had 1 week to leave or be removed by force? Those people had been living there for 40 years. They built homes, farms, and schools. They had lives. And you decided their planet belonged to you because some old map said so. Thesara felt her calm beginning to crack slightly. She had ordered the evacuation of New Sol personally. The planet was in a strategic location, and the humans had settled there without permission from any of the recognized galactic authorities. The evacuation had been handled efficiently and professionally. Only 17 humans had died resisting the relocation. The casualties at New Sol were minimal, she said. Your people were offered transportation to other worlds and compensation for their property. This was far more generous than your species deserves for illegally occupying a protected world. 17 people died, Deho said, his voice rising. 17. And you call that minimal? You know what we call it? We call it murder. Every single one of those people had names, families, and dreams. And you erased them like they were numbers in a report. The throne chamber was silent. Thesara's advisors were all watching her carefully, waiting to see how she would respond to this outburst. She could have the human killed immediately for such disrespect. It would be well within her rights as queen. But something stopped her. She wanted to understand why this creature showed no fear. You are going to die, Thesara said simply. You understand this, correct? There is no exchange of prisoners with your people. You have no value to us alive except for the information you carry. Once we extract what we need from your mind, you will be executed. And yet you show no fear. You insult me to my face. You speak as if you have some power in this situation. Why? Deho met her gaze steadily with his small round eyes. Because I'm already dead, Your Majesty. The moment my ship blew up, I died. Everything after that is just extra time. So yeah, I'm going to speak my mind because what are you going to do? Kill me? I'm not afraid of that. I'm not afraid of you. I'm just tired of watching my people die while creatures like you pretend you're bringing peace. Thesara stared at the human for a long moment. In all her years as queen, she had never encountered anything like this. Every species she had ever met understood the basic logic of survival. When faced with certain death, intelligent beings became cooperative. They begged, they negotiated, they tried to find some way to continue living. But this human seemed to have genuinely accepted his death, and that acceptance gave him a strange kind of power. Take him to a holding cell, she finally ordered. I will question him again tomorrow. Give him food and medical attention for his injuries. The guards moved forward to take Deho away. As they led him toward the door, he looked back over his shoulder at Thesara. You want to know why we fight you so hard? It's because we've been fighting our whole existence. We fought nature, we fought each other, and we fought every obstacle the universe threw at us. You think you're scary? Lady, we come from a planet that's been trying to kill us since we crawled out of the oceans. You're just one more thing trying to push us around, and we're really good at pushing back. The doors closed behind him, and Thesara was left alone with her advisors. They began chattering nervously, discussing the prisoner's disrespect and recommending immediate execution. But Thesara barely heard them. Her mind was focused on the human's words. For the first time since the war began, Queen Thesara wondered if the Vryn Empire had made a terrible mistake.